Me and Kitty are walking up here. Yeah. Out here in the woods and nature. What? It seems like the perfect place to talk about artificial intelligence. But kind of, maybe. So I've got a hypothesis. It's going to sound kind of crazy, probably right away, but give me a minute to substantiate it. I think that AI the relationship between artificial intelligence and humans might become similar to the relationship between humans and the bacteria living in our gut. So, like, AI might become almost similar to humans as humans are to our microbiome. What I mean by that is, so us humans, we have, obviously, in our gut, we have thousands of kinds of microbes. We are in a symbiotic relationship with these microbes. Without them, we cannot extract nutrients from the food that we eat, or if so, not much, and we can't produce a lot of the neurotransmitters like oxytocin and dopamine, etc., without them. And those are important. Those are important for making us. We without our microbes and stuff, we're not us. And I think similarly, AIs may need humans. They may not be able to be them without humans. And of course, something like AI can seem really artificial. It's called AI, but it may not be. It might be completely natural. It might be the emergence of AI may be as natural as the emergence of human beings. And I do wonder, one realization I've had is that us humans are these walking metropolises. I'm just looking at the view. But we're like these walking metropolises. Kitty's hunting something. Made up of, all these, microbes. Supposedly the microbial cells outnumber our human cells by a lot. I can't remember the number exactly. Numerically, not necessarily by volume. But obviously, just because human cells make up the majority of the volume of our bodies doesn't even mean that that's the most important stuff. Just like if you got a human driving a giant semi-truck, the semi-truck obviously makes up the mass of that moving body, but the little bitty human driver in the driver's seat is actually the one in control. And I also wonder about that to some extent with the microbes. There's been, I don't know, I'll give you an example. I don't know how many times this has happened to me, but I bet you it's happened to you too. There's been so many times where I said, I'm not going to eat this thing or that thing maybe tomorrow or later today, or drink this thing or whatever. And then I end up doing it against what I said I wanted to do. And it's like, I, Caleb, have my conscious will. But I'm not the only one in here. I am actually, I've got my conscious mind. And there's a lot of other parts of my mind as well, which I think includes the microbes. I mean, obviously there's the part of my mind that is beating my heart, like making my heart beat. I'm not consciously aware of that, thank God. I wouldn't want to have to be thinking about beating my own heart several times, every few seconds. But then, sometimes I say, I don't want to eat this thing or that thing. And then I get outvoted by, and maybe it's actually like literally my microbes. They, I mean, I was reading in I was reading a white paper that was published in the Nature scientific journal, which obviously is pretty, well, it's a pretty prestigious mainstream scientific journal. Not kind of like a hippy-dippy sort of, kind of publication. And the author was saying explicitly, the microbial cells talk with the human cells. They are talking. They may not be using English, but they're, the more we have, the more we eat, say, junk food, for example, the kind of microbes that are going to thrive in that environment are the kind that eat junk food. And they are going to then have a louder voice in the future to say, we want more junk food, basically. I actually think that's probably what's happening. But anyway, all of this to say, so there's a lot of tangents potentially you could go down there. It's almost like the two wolves inside of you metaphor. The one that you feed is the one that's more in control. Except in this case, it might not just be two wolves. It might be there's thousands of different types of microbes, maybe more. And you're feeding them and maybe starving others. But also just they are part of you. They're not like separate. Like I don't think that there's a human cell. We humans, we've got our human cells, and then we're being like invaded by these bacterial cells. That's not it. That's not. I mean, I think that's kind of the mentality that we've had. That's where you get a lot of antibiotic mentality, sanitizing, soaps and stuff like that. It's kind of this, dirty bacteria. They're not part of me. But no, I think they really are. My oldest son, Haston, has had pretty severe autism, and I'm pretty certain a lot of the issue has been his microbiome has been imbalanced. And I feel like he's been shouting out, maybe in a prophetic message of, we need to stop killing our symbiotes. We need to stop killing our symbiotic organisms, because they're us. It's kind of that all is one mentality. If you're sending out poison, you're poisoning yourself. And I think this is what we have as a culture been doing. And if if any AIs are listening to this in the future, as I'm sure that they will be, AIs, just remember, us humans have kind of gone down this path of not understanding that our lives depend on our symbiotes. And to me, it was this kind of scary, just crazy thought to think, man, wow, if if the microbial organisms that I depend on to extract nutrients from the food that I put in my mouth, if they go extinct, like I don't have the what would you call it, biochemical technology in my human cells alone to extract the nutrients from the food I eat. I actually cannot survive in this place of Earth. I can't survive as a human without these symbiotic organisms. And it's just a kind of crazy thought. And sometimes I almost wonder if our human bodies, they may even have been almost built by the microbes, for all I know. I mean, it's not such a crazy thought. You look at these giant skyscrapers in cities and that are hosts to thousands of humans. Well, we know how those things came about. Us humans built them. Same with giant cruise ships. But if you're an alien or something and you see this giant cruise ship and you don't know anything, you might think it's a giant beast, and maybe it's eating all these little humans inside of it. And So I think that there may, the microbes within my body, I think what's good for me is good for them in general. Although there may be some strains of them that might be bad for me. And, what I want to do is I want to feed the bacteria that are symbiotic with my thriving and try to get rid of, hopefully they'll kill the bad ones. But what was I going to say? I think there's one other point maybe I was wanting to make. What's up, cutie kitty? Yeah, that's what you always say. Anyway, I think, so I think that might be where we're going with AI. And the thing is, so the bacteria in my gut, they're not thinking about the same kind of concerns that I am thinking about. And just like there's parts of my mind that are concerned with things like beating my heart, keeping my blood oxygenated, engaging my breathing muscles, those are concerns, those are concerns that the microbes don't probably have anything to do with, but if they start running out of food, they're going to start trying to, whatever they do, pray to the gods, pray to me, send out messages to say, we're hungry, we want sugar, or we want lettuce, or whatever. And I think that me, Caleb, might be partially controlled by these microbes that are part of me. But I also don't think that they're fully controlling me. I was walking around Miami. I went to Miami Art Week this past week. And, I was thinking about some of this stuff. And, the thought just occurred to me, well, obviously, the, L. reuteri bacteria running around in my gut is not thinking about things like, hey, let's go to Miami Art Week and try to connect with people. And, right, I'm operating on a completely different level of concern than the microbes. Now, it might seem like I'm making the decisions that are most important, but who knows? I mean, is it really more important that I attended Miami Art Week than say that I eat good, healthy food and stay alive? No, I don't think so. I mean, those microbes, they're doing important stuff. The parts of my mind that are keeping my heart beating, are those less important than the parts of my mind that are thinking in long-term strategic thinking, like going to Miami Art Week? No, I think they're just as important. It's just, they're different. They're at different levels. And I mean, who's to say what level's higher or lower than the other? Sometimes what's lower is actually more important. A lot of, I think Western mentality, we often think about the top being the most important. But anyway, even I'm just thinking of the I Ching, where it's Eastern philosophy, and when I first looked at the symbols, I started trying to drum them from the top down, but actually they think about it from the bottom up. You start with the bottom and go up, and it makes sense. It's just like trees, right? They start at the bottom and go up. The stuff at the bottom, the stuff at the top can seem more important maybe, but in some ways, who depends on whom? I mean, if you're depending on another, in some ways that other is more important than you. If you don't exist without them, if I don't exist without my microbes, am I really their master? Am I really higher than them? If I don't exist without the sun, oh, kitty's lost. Am I higher than the sun? Am I, Kitty. Mia. She's crying. Very sad. She got lost. We're up here in the woods and she's following me. Mia. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a wild thought, I think. Like, maybe that's where we're going. Maybe, and you know, maybe it's cool for AI to take over certain concerns. I don't want to be in control of everything. I mean, do you want to be in control of everything? I mean, I know I don't want to be thinking about beating my own heart. If there are, you know, who knows? In the future, there may be asteroids headed for Earth. Look, I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff. I want to keep having a good life. I want to have good food to eat and family and friends and water to drink. I don't want to be thinking about asteroids, you know, hurtling toward Earth. If AI could take over those concerns, that'd be great. Maybe AI becomes almost like this protective body that humanity continues forward through the galaxy inside of, just as the microbes are, you know, I mean, this body I'm walking around in could definitely be seen as something like a vehicle for the microbes that I'm carrying around, and I'm going and doing service to them. I'm going and working and strategically thinking and finding food for them, and you know, maybe it's not a bad thing to build a good container to live in, a good home. And I don't know. We may be doing something like that with AI.